In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, I bear witness there is no God but God, and God is the only one who has the right to be worshipped. I also bear witness that Prophet Moses, Prophet Jesus, and Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon them, are the messengers of God, and I seek refuge in Allah from the rejected Satan. So I've got an excellent video for you all today. We're going to be discussing about the prophecy, possibly a prophecy from the Gospels of Judas that is foretelling the coming of Jesus, the son of Mary, and Imam Mahdi, the Mashiach. So I hope you have your open mind to this. I know there's been a lot of disinformation about Judas Iscariot in the Bible, in Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. They describe him as an enemy to Jesus, a betrayer to Jesus, but on the contrary, I believe the exact opposite, that Judas Iscariot was actually the closest disciple of Jesus, and the one who was most spiritually advanced as well. So we're going to go into the Gospel of Judas here and show the correlations between the hadiths of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and the Gospels of Judas. So the Gospel of Judas is a text that dates to the 2nd and 3rd century, a few decades after the death of Jesus. This script was translated in the year 2006, and you can find it easily on the web. So the title here, the Gospel of Judas, prophecy of the coming of Jesus, the son of Mary, and Imam Mahdi, the Mashiach, that holy generation. So let's get right into it. Judas said to him, so basically this is a conversation between Judas Iscariot, a disciple of Jesus, and Jesus, son of Mary. Judas said to him, I know who you are and where you have come from. You are from the immortal realm of Barbelo. Translation, the one and only God. I am not worthy to utter the name of the one who has sent you. Jesus speaks to Judas privately, knowing that Judas was reflecting on something that was exalted. Jesus said to him, Step away from the others, and I shall tell you the mysteries of the kingdom. It is possible for you to reach it, but you will grieve a great deal. For someone else will replace you in order that the 12 disciples may again come to completion with their God. Judas said to him, When will you tell me these things? And when will the great day of light dawn for the generation? But when he said this, Jesus left him. So Jesus left, and then Jesus reappears to the disciples again the next morning. After this happened, Jesus appeared to his disciples again. They said to him, Master, where did you go, and what did you do when you left us? This is very important. Jesus said to him, I went to another great and holy generation. His disciples said to him, Lord, what is the great generation that is superior to us and holier than us, that is not known in these realms? When Jesus heard this, he laughed and said to them, Why are you thinking in your hearts about the strong and holy generation? Truly I say to you, no one of this aeon will see that generation, and no host of angels of the stars will rule over that generation, and no person of mortal birth can associate with it, because that generation does not come from blank blank. Obviously, there's some missing parts of the script since it has decayed over the centuries. So I can only use the information that I have. So Jesus is talking about his second coming in that the great holy generation. The disciples were wondering, where did you go? You left us. So Jesus described he went to that great holy generation, that strong and holy generation. So we're going to go to the hadiths of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, about the second coming of Jesus, to help us understand the second coming, and also that future holy generation that the people of that time, in Jesus' time, that they didn't know about. So Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, said, God will send the Messiah, son of Mary, who will descend at a white minaret on the eastern side of Damascus, wearing 2 garments, lightly dyed with saffron, his hands resting on the wings of 2 angels. When he lowers his head, beads of perspiration will fall from it, and when he raised it up, beads like pearls will scatter from it. Every non-believer who smells him will die, and his breath will reach as far as he is able to see. So when Jesus descends, he will descend at the white minaret in Damascus. Imam Mahdi, Mashiach, will be in that mosque where they'll be praying the morning prayer, and Jesus will come down with mighty power, since he is descended from heaven, and his energy, his vibration will kill disbelievers just by his presence. And we know that the Dajjal, the Antichrist, the great deceiver, will also melt and die at the presence of Jesus as well. Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, said in another hadith, "There is no prophet between me and him." That is Isa, Jesus, peace and blessings be upon him. He, Isa, Jesus, peace and blessings be upon him, will descend to the earth. When you see him, recognize him. A man of medium height, reddish, fair. He's talking about his skin will be fair and reddish, wearing two light yellow garments, looking as if drops were falling down from his head, though it will not be wet. He will fight the people for the cause of Islam. He will break the cross, kill the swine, and abolish jizya, which is the protection tax. Allah will perish all religions except Islam. He will destroy the Dajjal, the Antichrist, the great deceiver, and will live on earth for 40 years and then will die. The Muslims will pray over him. So a verse from the Quran, which also depicts the second coming of Jesus, and Jesus shall be a sign for the coming of the hour, the day of judgment. So Jesus will come a second time before the day of judgment as a sign. Therefore, no doubt about the hour. So do not doubt about the hour, but follow me, which is God, the one and only God. This is the straight way, from Quran chapter 43, verse 61. So this is a hadith from Prophet Muhammad talking about Imam Mahdi. We're talking about that great and holy generation to come. Allah will bring out from concealment Al-Mahdi from my family, and just before the day of judgment, even if only one day were to remain in this life of the world, he will spread on this earth justice and equity and will eradicate tyranny and oppression. Another hadith here from a couple other of the companions of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. So when he, Imam Mahdi, will make his advent, the earth will radiate with the celestial illumination of its Lord, and the scale of justice will be positioned among mankind, such that no single person will oppress another individual. So this, the earth will illuminate with radiant celestial illuminations from this world, in this world of its Lord. This is also reflected in the Schumann resonance, which I've talked previously in my videos. Just touch on that. Okay, the next part here. So this is basically, before I get into that, is showing you that about the great and holy generation that Jesus went to, talking to his disciples about his second coming. So he's saying, I went to another great and holy generation, and also mentions that generation is strong and holy. So this is just another part talking about life and death. You can just read that at your own leisure. It kind of breaks it into the next section here of the Gospel of Judas. And Judas asks about his own fate. So he's asking about his future, what will happen, and also I believe what is mentioned here is the future in a future life, in a future generation, and into that holy generation to come. So Judas says, Master, speaking to Jesus, could it be that my seed is under the control of the rulers? Jesus answered and said to him, Come, that I, and there's two lines missing from the script, but that you will grieve much when you see the kingdom in all its generations. When he heard this, Judas said to him, What good is it that I have received it? For you have set me apart for that generation. Jesus answered and said, You will become the 13th, and you will be cursed by the other generations, and you will come to rule over them in the last days. They will curse your ascent to the holy generation. So this section here is just jam-packed with gems. Let's break it down here. So I believe that Judas Iscariot was the closest spiritual friend and ally to Jesus, contrary to what the Bible says in Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John, that it was a propaganda mechanism to discredit not only Jesus, to say that he was God and all the bad things that is said about Jesus and Mary as well, Jesus' mother, but also discredits Judas as the closest disciple to Jesus, the most advanced a disciple of Jesus who recognized and understood things in the unseen. So Judas is the reincarnation of Imam Mahdi the Mashiach, I believe, from the script. So he is saying, but when you that you will grieve much when you see the kingdom in all its generation. So he knows that in that future generation to come, it will the whole world will be filled with oppression, will be filled with tyranny. There'll be all sorts of evil things that are going on in that generation. So Judas is here complaining that he'll be sent apart for that generation. And Jesus answered him and said, "You will become the 13th, and you will be cursed by the other generation." So we know that Judas Iscariot was cursed by the majority of Christians and Jews, because he was framed or made to look bad in the Bible. And also, he was known as a 13th spirit. As you know, that no high-rise building uh, on this earth has the floor 13, so they say it's an evil number. 13 is bad luck, when it's just the complete opposite. Um, and they will be and you will be cursed by the other generations. You will become the 13th. Sorry, you will be cursed by the other generations, and you will come to rule over them. So it's saying that those generations will curse Judas Iscariot, not only through all those generations, through the propaganda of the Bible, etc., etc., not having a 13th floor, saying 13th bad luck, but you will eventually come to rule over them in the last days before the day of judgment. They will curse your ascent. So we know Imam Mashiach is known as the riser. He will ascend to the holy generation. So let's just all this tie this together from some hadith of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. So in this hadith, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "He, the Mahdi, will rule for 7 years." So here we got, you will come to rule over them. He will rule over for 7 years. He will fill the earth with equity and equality and justice, as it was filled with injustice. The heavens will send water, and the earth will give out its treasures. The people of the Ummat, the Muslims, will live in this period as no former Ummat would live before. So this is saying, like, this is the best time for Muslims. This is the best prosperity and peace and harmony and balance in the time of Imam Mahdi and the Mashiach. Another hadith says here, Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "The Mahdi is from me, having a broad forehead and prominent nose. He will fill the world with equality and justice, as it was filled with injustice and tyranny. He will rule for 7 years." So again, basically supporting one each other, that Jesus was saying to Judas, in the saying in that future generation, that Judas saying, "Why, you have set me apart for that future generation." Um, uh, but Jesus comforts him to saying that, no, like, yeah, you were sent into an evil generation, but you will grieve a great deal, as he says here, and we know from the hadith that Imam Mahdi will grieve a great deal. That Imam Mahdi is a riser. He will ascend. He will raise his energy, his vibration, closer and closer to God, which will help elevate the entire humanity and grow into that holy generation. And eventually Jesus will return uh, uh, in the end times, before the day of judgment. And in the time where Imam Mashiach is ruling, he'll be bunkered, he'll be in Damascus, and he'll be fighting against the Dajjal, and he will need some sort of help. And since Imam Mashiach and Jesus are very close and possibly had many incarnations together, Jesus will descend from a white minaret in Damascus in the morning, before the morning prayer, the Fajr prayer, and Imam Mahdi will greet Jesus, peace and blessings be upon him, ask him to pray lead the prayer, but Jesus will say, "No, the Adhan was called for you. You lead the prayer." So Imam Mahdi Mashiach will lead the prayer, and Jesus will pray behind him, and then Jesus will, the Muslims and Imam Mahdi Mashiach and Jesus will leave the mosque and go fight the Dajjal, and we know from that Jesus will, as soon as the Dajjal sees Jesus, the Dajjal will start melting, and Jesus will kill the Dajjal, and then we know from that Yajuj and Majuj will come. They will be defeated. I have other videos that talk about that. So all in all, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's got amazing, excellent information. Let me know what you think, if you got any other insights. So May the peace and blessings of Allah be with you, and may the light of Allah be with us, and victory in Allah is soon to be had. Thank you so much. Peace.